Hey everyone, welcome to TrailSage, and this week we're talking about separated shoulders. If you follow me on Strava, then you know 4 weeks ago I separated my shoulder pretty bad. So what happened? I was on a mountain bike ride and went off a jump, and there was a rock right in the landing. My front tire hit that rock and just stopped me dead in my tracks, and I went over the bars and landed directly onto my shoulder and kind of like slid for a few feet. And I knew immediately that it was bad news. I got that nauseous feeling that you get, and as you can imagine, the pain was intense. I like trying to get my shirt off was just like one of those like hurts so bad that you're laugh crying at the same time. So they took the x-rays and confirmed I had definitely separated my shoulder. Unfortunately, if you're a mountain biker, this is a pretty common injury, and what I wanted to do was go over that recovery process, the healing time, and how I started training again. So let's start with day one. Day one and day two were basically the same, just incredibly painful, uncomfortable. Sleep, forget about it. Like that was just, trying to sleep was just ridiculous. That the pain was, man, it's just one of the like buzzing pains. But yeah, showering, that really sucked. I'm pretty sure there are probably spots on my back that like remained dirty for the next few days. I couldn't reach certain spots. And day three, I finally started to see some range of motion. And by that, I mean very little. But what I found was that the sling was actually making it worse. And I think that was because of the way that I fell. I fell and pulled my shoulder kind of forward. So I got rid of the sling, and that put my shoulder in a more comfortable position and just did my best not to move it over the next few days. So day 3, 4, and 5, I was seeing, bigger improvements every day as the swelling started to go down. I was still getting a lot of bruising, but it just felt like a pulled muscle in that spot. And, if you tried to move it in a certain spot, then you would get that sharp pain, and it was like, okay, yeah, don't do that. But just in everyday, normal kind of moving around, it was just tight. Just tight would be a good word to describe that. On day 5, I actually got to see the doctors at Rothman, who took a look at the x-rays and confirmed that I had separated the shoulder pretty bad. But the good news was I didn't need surgery. So that was like, woo, no surgery necessary. The bad news, I couldn't mountain bike or run for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that was kind of a bummer. But in addition to not needing surgery, the other piece of good news was the doctor said as soon as I could lift my hands onto the handlebars, I could start road riding again. And that was awesome because, being able to train is one of those things that's really important to me, not just for health reasons, but, mentally as well. It's just one of those things that's part of my life that I really enjoy. So in week 2, I started road riding again and started that training process, and that was great. I combined that with a lot of fasting and doing some collagen, and mobility was just getting better and better every day. Week 3, I was able to like lift my hands up over my head, so that was great. Really almost a full range of motion, but it still felt tight. Week 4 was when I started to see the biggest improvements of all. I not only could I move full range of motion, but I was able to do it without any kind of discomfort whatsoever. So that was great. I had my physical therapy appointment in week 4 as well, and she cleared me to run. So that was awesome. I just finished a run this morning. I did 5 miles, and that felt great. But in mile 3, I started to feel, I guess, looseness. It's the muscles and the tendons they're just not strong. So there was no pain, but it was just kind of uncomfortable. So that's probably one of those things that I have to work on over the next few weeks to get that strength in the shoulder back. And once that's back, I'll probably be able to start to mountain bike again. So I'm really looking forward to that. So before we get into that, I kind of wanted to go over what that first road ride was like. If you have a stationary bike or a trainer, that's probably the best way to go. But, I don't have a stationary bike or trainer, so that meant getting on the road with the road bike. And I wanted to do that in a safe way. I didn't want to just go back right onto the road. I wanted to test to make sure that I could change gears, get from the hoods to the flats. Could I get on and off the bike? And not just do them, but I wanted to be able to do them well. And there are a lot of things that I kind of anticipated and a lot of things that I hadn't anticipated, and I kind of wanted to go over what it was like to get on the road bike for the first time and what that progress was like over the last couple weeks. But before we go any further, please know I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I just wanted to share with you what my experience was like with this injury. Obviously, everyone's injury is going to be different, right? You're going to have a different pain tolerance, you're going to have different fitness level, and your injury is going to be more severe or different in many ways. So talk to your medical professional or doctor first before you attempt anything. The first ride was interesting, to say the least. What I found was I had a really hard time pushing power through my legs without pulling back on the bars, and that took a while to get used to. The potholes, little manhole covers, the cracks in the roads, the feedback of that coming back through the bars was uncomfortable, to say the least. And the first couple rides, I kept them really, really short. In fact, that whole first week, the goal wasn't to, get back to 100% fitness level. It was just kind of easing myself back into it, right? My second week of riding was a lot better. I'd kind of gotten used to pushing power through my legs without pulling back on the bars. The feedback wasn't hurting my shoulder as much, and I was kind of able to get back into the routine of training again. So adding HIIT rides, doing longer and longer rides. I still wasn't able to stand and crank, but at least I was able to generate the power that I wanted to and get back into that routine of riding again. By week 3, I was feeling a lot better. I had gotten quite a bit of mobility back. I would say I was probably about 95% back, and I was even able to stand and crank on my pedals. The feedback on the road, while still annoying, it wasn't uncomfortable. So, that was great. By week 4, I was feeling like my old self again. I was able to stand and crank and pull back on the bars. The discomfort coming back from the road was basically non-existent. I was feeling really, really good. Definitely not ready to mountain bike again. While the mobility is there, the strength is not. I could feel that it's loose in there, and that's the next step. To be able to trail run and mountain bike, I'm gonna have to work on strengthening this joint, and there's probably still a lot of healing that needs to happen there. But it was nice to be able to get back onto the road bike and feel normal again. My first tip is probably the most obvious, and that is avoid any kind of potholes or any sketchy patches of road that you may come across. Any kind of feedback that you can avoid is going to be better. If it's possible, I would also try and stay away from heavily trafficked roads. The second tip that I have is air down your tires. There's not much in terms of suspension on a road bike, but one of the things that you can do is you can take the air out of your tires and let the tire do its job. I typically ride my bikes at about 90 to 100 PSI, so, airing them down to about 60, 50 PSI, that really took a lot of the sting out of those bumps and sketchy patches of road. In addition to airing out your tires, if you had padded gloves, I would definitely wear them. The third was something I wasn't really anticipating, but learning to grab my water bottle with the other hand was a little bit annoying. I kept wanting to reach with my left hand to grab my bottle, and so learning to grab the bottle with the other hand was a little bit of a learning curve. Finally, if there's some rough patches of road that are unavoidable and you can kind of remove your hand from the bars for a few seconds, then, it makes a huge difference. Now, obviously, if the situation calls for both your hands to be on the bars or you're just not skilled enough to be able to ride one-handed, don't do it. Be honest with yourself and just be smart. Well, that's it for this video. If you have any feedback or questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching.